the easier it is for me to put something on display, on sale, without having to jump through a lot of hoops, the more likely I'm going to do it. Because it's, of course, resources that we don't have to spend to make the program a success.
Hi guys, welcome to the Wine, Whiskey and Wheat Show. This is your host Sid Patel, and today I'm with Bruce Abbott, Wine and Spirits category buyer for Brown Jug, Alaska. Thanks for coming, Bruce.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Great. So we're going to talk about, how to get into regional chains, the state of union, what's going on with wine and spirits industry, especially the states, like Alaska. What are the trends, post-COVID trends, and so on. And most importantly, how can brands enter into this regional chains, what a buyer really wants, as a support program. What are they looking for when they decide to take your product? Why do they take your product, and how you can help as a supplier to them deplete the product? All right. So Bruce, why don't you give 2 minutes about your introduction, just a little history about yourself, what have you been doing, your role, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. So I've been in the industry for a while. I got my start on the on-premise before working for a local distributor in Alaska for 5 years. Opened my own boutique shop that ran for a while before moving to Brown Jug, which is a chain of 21 liquor stores in Alaska, located in Anchorage, in Wasilla, Eagle River, and in Fairbanks. It's Alaska's largest liquor chain.
Nice.
And carry a wide variety of products, about 3,500 spirits.
Well, and you take care of the buying for all the stores, like as a final?
That's correct, yeah.
Great.
So all the product selections and pricing, of course, is
Nice.
what I take care of with both the wine and the spirits.
Super. And how long? You said 12 years in this role as a
So
active buyer?
I've been with Brown Jug since 2013. I've been in the buyer role since 2015.
Nice. So let's go back in the wine. I'm sure a metric for a spirit and wine would be a little different. But if I had to, if I was a supplier, what would you want from a wine buyer in their pitch? Like, what do you want them to cover when they introduce a new brand to you? Rather than just talking about the region and whatnot, what trade information you would prefer?
Sure, and I think that's a really important point, because so many times I'll get a pitch and it's all about, the family or how the wine is made and the history of the region. And that's all fantastic if I was a consumer.
Yes.
But that's information that they need to communicate to the consumer. What I'm looking for is pricing.
Yep.
I'm looking for what kind of point of sale supports are available. I'm looking for what kind of exclusivity can I have with this brand? What can we use this brand for to differentiate our business from our competitors?
Got it.
And also, when we talk about pricing, not just case one pricing, but hey, we have a lot of stores. So what does that mean at 14 cases? What does that mean at 28? What does that mean at 56? What does it mean at 256 cases? How do we leverage our size to sell more of the product at a more attractive rate to our consumers?
So I guess you would want to present all options. Like if there was a 3-case display in 14 stores, here's what we'll do for you. If it was a case in each store on a shelf, here's what we would do for you, and so on. I think one important point which you made is the differentiation factor, right? Because I think that's important. Like why would you be stacking this? Like what edge can supplier give you? So can you go in detail? Like what are the examples? Like obviously one is I will not sell to anyone else in 5 miles, but what other options, how can they?
Sure, so again, that's where kind of point of sale support comes into play. Also market support with our
Like store
team.
tastings?
Yeah, so we can't do in-store tastings in Alaska, but what we can do is partner, say, with an on-premise account and do a wine dinner there and do pre-orders to introduce that product to the market to get liquid to lips. Another big thing that makes a difference for me is when I talk to the supplier and they say, hey, and we'll send our brand rep or we'll send our winemaker up and train your staff on this product. And so that, again, all this information, the story of the wine, when it's communicated to me, that's fine, but I'm not the one that's going to be directly talking to the consumers.
Understood.
And getting that information to my wine stewards
Yep.
at our stores so they can then tell that story to the consumers, that's going to result in the sell-through that they're looking for.
Got it. I think I don't know if you know, but I come from a background of building wine as well. So I had my own brand and I built a 200,000 case business. So one of the states like Oklahoma was similarly like this, where we had to, can't do tasting, but I can do a tasting in a next door restaurant. So one of the things which you can really do is have a list of all the store locations where your wines or spirits are available. And then while you're doing your store tasting, you say, hey, next time you want to purchase a case or a bottle, you can go in the stores. So what they're looking for is a foot traffic. That's a great, I think number one is that where you can send a foot traffic and a pre-sold buyer. That will be good. And then you can use that as a pitch as well, that I'm doing this 5 restaurant tastings and we'll put your flyers. I think that will add a lot of value.
Absolutely, and we get a lot of business that way in doing pre-sales that way. So they go to the tasting, and while they're at the tasting, while they've just had the wine, they actually mark down, hey, I want this many cases of it, right? And then we say, great, these cases are ready for the store.
True.
It builds a visit for us, of course, and we get that wine in the hands of the consumer.
Yeah, true. I remember that, let's say, someone's tasting, I say, okay, you're going to buy 2 bottles, and then you keep right, and then you go back to the buyer and say, I've got 5 cases pre-sold. You call the numbers, you say it's now there, and so on, right?
Yeah.
So great. What about, let's say, if things don't go well, you got the placement, fantastic, right? Now let's talk about support once your product is in the store. What are the 3 main things that you think is ROI positive for suppliers as well and for you? Like, where exactly they should put money to help you deplete?
Sure. So with the case with a lot of smaller suppliers, they don't have the point of sale supports that the larger suppliers do. But there's some easy things that they can do to make it easy for me as a buyer to run their product on feature. And that's just providing case card files. It doesn't even have to be physical case cards, but they can say, hey, here's something that you can print out using local printing resources and put this on sale and have some really eye-catching, attractive paper point of sale on this product to direct consumers for it. And that makes a big difference rather than us having to try to scour their website for images and use their graphic design team to put something together. It's a lot of work to sell their product, right? When if that was pre-prepared by them, that really helps out. Any sort of pulse pricing that they can do if they want.
What's the pulse pricing, like this week off?
So more like, hey, we're going into the holidays. We have this product, but we're going to offer it cheaper to you during this time so that you can then offer it at, of course, a reduced price to consumers during this time to, of course, try to move through some cases and get some buy-in from consumers. All this has to do with presenting the brand to the consumer. And the biggest thing, and something that we were talking about today, of course, is the bottle has to be attractive to the consumer, especially on lesser known products from smaller suppliers. You want to get in somewhere.
What about the branded carton? How important focus do you even pay attention? Does it trigger your mind that, okay, this is a white carton versus this is a branded carton, same price? Would you prefer that? Because I'm sure
100%. And honestly, and it's silly as well, but wood boxes make a huge difference.
You like it or no?
Oh, absolutely.
For the display?
For the display,
okay.
Yeah, right?
Premiumization.
So, and I'll pay a premium in price because I know I could stack, if I get a Bordeaux, right, and a white shipper plain box, or I'm paying $5 to $10 more for the same wine in a wood box, I'll go for the wood package every single time because I know I can stack that, and there's that impression of quality that the consumer will have. And going back to white label or white unbranded and branded, if I'm going to display a wine and have stackers in my stores, I of course am going to want the stacker that's going to enhance the display instead of one that is completely blank. But if you do use plain white shippers, then have something like case sleeves, right? That
Yeah.
you can use to cover those.
Correct.
And make that an attractive display in the stores.
I mean, I firmly believe that the easier you make, life of a distributor and a retailer, the sorting life, the behind the scene life, the better it is, because they start liking you, and likability factor is a super important thing.
Yeah, the easier it is for me to put something
Correct.
on display, on sale, without having to jump through a lot of hoops, the more likely I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's, of course, resources that we don't have to spend to make the program a success.
So I think one of the things which I personally faced was, just to get the first meeting. I mean, today, let's say, obviously the big brands and big distributors would have that leverage because they have that relationship. They've contributed dollars to your store. But a small guy, how do they reach? Like, it's obviously tough to get an appointment with a regional buyer like yourself. What is the right way you would advise them to sort of just, if they are ready, if they think they are ready, volume-wise, marketing-wise, everything, where do they start? Like, how do they find you? I'm not asking you to give away your email, but I'm just showing as a process. Let's say if you were a rep, what would you do to get into regional stores? The first thing, how do you find these buyers?
So I think that's a great question. And I think it's easier to say what not to do. And what I get a whole lot of times is I'll get a case of wine or a case of spirits sent to me, samples without any introduction,
shipped to you.
Yeah, just and I have these bottles. There's no pricing to go along with it. There's no information on it, and I'm left with these items with no path forward. Right.
Yeah.
So I think the important thing is to always have a path forward to it. So make the introduction.
Like cold calls work? Like people can walk in and say, "When can I meet you?" or
it's harder for cold calls in Alaska, but
got it.
Yeah, people reach out via email. And
just a standard hustle. Find your information. Try to luck of the draw and sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the important thing to realize with that is that I don't know the brand most of the times when it comes to me. I don't know the supplier. And what I see a lot of times, people say, great, we want to send you a container of product.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, I've never had these products in my store before. How do I commit to a container before I know a case will sell? So don't be afraid to start small. Say, hey, we want to start with a 14 case order. We want to start with a 28 case order and see how these products will do in the store and build that relationship first instead of swinging for the fences right out the gate, because it's easy for me to take a chance on a pallet. It's not easy for me to take a chance on a container.
And when you say, someone getting a placement, let's say a pallet, or let's say a case each goes on the shelf, I normally, when I sold, I took the pressure to make sure that 12 bottles are sold through in like 2 weeks max. So I'll come and do 2 tastings Fridays and Saturdays and boom, done. And then I get my 3 case and slowly I start building. How would you judge, like, this is good, this is not good? If supplier did nothing, and if the wine took 18 days to go versus 80 days, like, what's your thing which defines bad, out, never want to see it again?
So my metric for the chain, and to be fair, we have quite a few stores, really the break even for a product like that, where it's not, say, a halo item that we're just going to have in the store anyway. I want to see at least 1 bottle move out of the chain every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
At least 1 bottle. So, I mean, if a rep came back next week to see you and ask for an order or just to check out and there is 0 movement, I think they should do something about it, right? Like, they should themselves feel, otherwise they're going to lose that whole trust thing.
Absolutely, and that means that, hey, they can be in the store to do some consumer education, or, as I said before, they talk to the wine stewards and offer some wine education. The wine stewards gets the wine stewards behind that wine, and then it's going to go. If we have people that are interested and excited about the product in the store, interacting with customers, that wine will sell.
Got it. Cool. So just a couple of last questions. We'll go into the trends. What do you think is trending? Like, what are you planning to buy in the next 3 to 4 months? What do you think is popping out, including spirits? I obviously know bourbon, tequilas are hot, but maybe your side of the town, what's going on?
Sure. So on the wine side, we continue to see the trend toward people looking for, I'd say, products that give off a sense of authenticity, And we continue to see the 15 to 25 to 30 range really blow up compared to the lower range, right? We're not seeing our growth in the lower end of the market. We're seeing it in that 15 to 30 area where people seem much more confident on picking up those products. In Alaska, we are not a very import-focused market. We're very much domestic, but we are
seeing... So like California, Oregon, Washington?
California, Oregon, and Washington for sure. Probably have a little bit larger of a Washington market just because of our proximity and the ease of getting those products to the Alaska market. But what we're starting to see is people looking for things from some countries that aren't usually a big part of our product mix. Portugal, for example, we see more people going for. What's interesting to see is Tanat from Uruguay. People starting to ask for that. So I think people are looking for those more unique products. Certainly natural wine is something that more people are asking for, though it's not the phenomenon in Alaska that you'd find in the lower 48. As far as spirits go, as you mentioned, tequila is huge right now. Whiskey, of course, continues to be incredibly strong. But rum, especially aged rum, seems to be on an upswing for us. And I think that when we look at the bourbon craze and the whiskey craze in general, there's so many similarities when it comes to brown spirit in the form of aged rum. And so I think there's incredible crossover potential to introduce some of these whiskey fans to some of these aged rums, especially the ones that have a little bit less sugar added to them, where they're going to find those similarities on the palate.
Super. So great. I mean, appreciate the tips. Have you got any finishing comments to the brands trying to grow distribution into regional chains? Yeah,
so what has really allowed us to bring a lot of stuff into Alaska is when they come to us, they say, hey, we're a smaller brand. We're not going to be in the Fred Meyers, the Costcos, the Krogers of the Safeways of the world. But we know we can be successful with you.
Got it.
And they say, we'd like to be in the on-premise in this market, but we'll let you take this brand and build it exclusively at your regional chain. And that allows us to really make a commitment to it because, again, it allows us to have that point of differentiation when we can say, hey, we're the only ones that have this brand in this market at this time, and essentially use it as a control brand. And because we also are okay with that being in the on-premise, that's only a bonus for us. A lot of brands are happy with that arrangement, and we're able to do some really good business. And if you want to be a big brand that's going to get that Costco deal, it's probably not the solution for you. But if you're a brand that just wants to grow and get into some other markets, there's a lot of other regional chains similar to Brown Jug across the country that I think would be interested in those kind of relationships.
Yeah, great. I think most of these regional chains would fit in exactly this kind of things where they would want to position it this way. I think you perfectly said it there. If you are the little medium big chain where the super big chains are not stacking that product, that would make more sense. And exclusivity comes in many forms, like control. I think it's a different subject, but control programs are very different. But this is a great control program which brands can offer you, just you as an on-trade, off-trade, and then on-trade a lot. So
yeah.